Griselda Cuevas Zambrano.
Yeah. Thank you. So first of all, thank you so much for being here in this track that it's important and dear to most of us and a lot more people here in the industry. So today, I'm going to talk about why non-contributions or how non-contributions can be a road to diversity. So basically, when I was writing this talk, I thought about what was the angle that I wanted to give to this conversation. And I decided to focus it on how projects can enable non-code contributions to become that road for diversity. So a little bit about me. I am Griselda Cuevas. I am a Googler, which mainly means that I am a Doogler mom of, it's like, I want you to see my dog.
Do you need Apple TV or are you connecting HDMI? It's really sensitive, so you can just change one. Yeah, I know it. Yeah. There it goes.
Okay, well, that means that I get to do the introduction again. Let's see. I think it's okay, but yeah, I'm gonna move forward for the sake of time. So yeah, I was saying my name is Griselda Cuevas. I'm a Doogler, which means I am a Doogler mom, and I have a 2-year-old boxer called Brody. And just 3 thoughts about myself and to share a little bit of the context of how I got involved into open source. I come from a career that came, basically my journey was from oil rigs to data mines. So now I am a diversity and inclusion advocate, and not only open source but also in product design, and especially for one of the concepts that Kim was talking about earlier in her talk, which is seeing diversity as a business development platform and not only an HR program at companies. I love wine and the gym, and those are the 3 facts I wanted to share with you today. So the outline of this talk, how I thought about it, as I mentioned, is I wanted to talk about non-code contributions from the benefits that projects can have from them and how this will enable them to build more diversity. So early on, we're having all these talks about why diversity is important and why people should care. So today I'm going to talk, first of all, defining what is a non-code contribution. Then I want to talk about the value of recognizing non-code contributions. Then discuss how this helps that journey of users becoming contributors. And then I'm going to have 3 suggestions for projects into actually taking action to enable this, and 2 challenges that I've seen from my research in the industry and overall projects. And at the end, if we have time, I would love to have more of a conversation. So if you have ideas or questions, that will be the time to discuss. So defining non-code contributions. So to me, I actually took time to read a few papers on the industry on how they were grouping it. Kubernetes took a step at actually defining non-code contributions as different stages of the code production. However, I decided to take a different approach and define three aspects of non-code contributions, or three types. User support, and this is project going outwards to the people who actually put the technology into production or use. Project management, and this is purely the task of keeping the project alive and efficient. And community management, which is dealing with people, helping the community get the right dynamics in our app. So some examples of each of these three groups. So for user support, we have things such as documentation, answering questions in Stack Overflow or Slack, many channels, putting together training, and so on. So basically, the user support non-code contributions that anyone can make is a speak on behalf of the project, helping other users with questions about whether the project is the right solution for the problem, or if they are stuck in getting to implement the project, or any questions that they have about the community or the dynamics of the project. It's basically having a line of support in helping your project grow. Then community management. Community management is related to all the dynamics that help the community be together and work together towards the goal. So we have things such as events, recognizing contributors. This is important because one of the challenges that I'm going to discuss later on is you actually need eyes that are looking at the community to see who is being part of this consistent journey of helping your project grow. You have things like mentorship, newsfeed. It's important to keep your community in the loop of what's going on. So even like a newsletter has been proven to be very efficient to keep up the BIM community cohesive. Fundraising. Some projects need also money to develop advocacy initiatives and things like that. And the project management side, so now we talk about the user side, which is basically helping your project grow and get adoption, get traction. Then you have community management, which helps your project stay efficient in getting the group of people who make it possible to stay together. And then you have project management. Project management is undoubtedly a lot of the work that some software developers producing value into the project don't like to do, but needs to get done. And this is basically helping the project move from state A to state B in each release. So the type of activities that are included here have to do with releases, Jira triage, feature request triage, project roadmap, testing, quality assurance, etc. So it's all the tasks that need to happen that are related to add value directly to the companies. So with this, I'm going to stop here and just like recap these three angles. We have the outward bound, which is like helping users get into the project. You have the community aspect of it, but also the agility of the production of the project. So what is the value of the non-code contributions for the project? I love that Kim earlier mentioned that she is a marketer and she is really interested in putting the value in numbers. So what I did was, I see two aspects of recognizing this type of contributions to your project. The first one is you increase development agility and development velocity. By enabling more hands to take an active role in your project, you are pretty much opening the bottleneck in which you can develop your software and your project. And at the same time, you can also be reducing cost of rework or being stuck or not having enough communication with your community and avoiding all those dynamics that happen in almost every collaborative organization. The second part of it is ecosystem growth. And I put a money sign there because ecosystem growth pretty much means opportunity for everyone. If your project keeps on adding value and having more functionalities, more integrations, better adoption, the opportunities that are there for the partners to support the project or the individuals that spend their time there commonly grow. So that like money making machine to say it in a way, is creating job opportunities, new markets, new integrations with products. It's just basically growing the pie. So non-code contributions are critical to help you grow in a way that is sustainable and that looks at new opportunities in an inclusive way. So now I'm gonna talk about how to recognize non-code contributions and why it's important. So first of all, I'm gonna show you a picture, and whoever wants to share how would you feel with it, I would love to hear your thoughts. How would you feel if you were the lady in the bridge? Scared. I heard a scared for the live stream. What else?
Excited.
Excited.
And curious.
And curious. Well, so early on, we heard Rina and Ajmal talk about why safety is important for new users and new contributors. And basically, it's represented in this picture. The new visitor communities are desolating, and your PMC is that point that she was trying to reach. And in between her first step to that mountain, it's this very scary bridge. There's a bridge, there's a way, but it's very scary, and it seems not very stable. So in the presentation that we heard from Rina and Ajmal, we also heard that non-code contributions are actually sometimes a way for people very interested into project to test the waters or test the community. So if we go back and we see how she's taking that first step is actually, it could be a non-code contribution that she's doing to see how safe, how effective, how active, how welcoming a project is. So in the journey from user to contributor, the perception of safety is the bridge, and the non-code contributions are those first steps that the users take to join your community. So this is important, and this is why you should care about how your project dynamics recognize those contributions. So I wanted to share this tweet here from Leah, actually, because I felt very happy when I saw it. She shared the excitement of the first contribution that she made to Apache Airflow, and I loved the message that is here. So I'm going to read it for the live stream. She said, "My first Apache Airflow PR was approved. It was a one-line doc change, and I couldn't be prouder. That one-line change made it so no one has to wonder what the default value is for an optional variable, which took a long time for me to find. No contribution is too small." That's what I love about the tweet. That the reason that she saw that just a line change wasn't small enough and actually gave her the courage to make the first contribution, also made her feel empowered to continue the relationship with the Airflow community. And I know that because we discussed a lot about this, and just seeing that as like in a first basis from someone I know made me validate this idea that by recognizing early contributions, you can empower someone to feel safer in your community. Actually, I will encourage you, if you want to follow Leah and see the thread, I love the response that she got from many of the people from the Airflow community. It was very, very encouraging, and it was nice to see them there too. So how can projects strengthen that bridge? That is the 3 recommendations that I want to share with you. And I'm going to share a bit of the stories in each of the recommendations. So first, recognize early. If you recognize early someone that it's coming to do a one-line change, like Leah did, you can be inspiring a new person to stay around and continue exploring the project, your community, and your code. One story that I want to share with you is that I actually got involved in open source very similarly to Rina about 2 years ago. And how I got involved was that I had experience with online communities of volunteers driving large projects, and very specifically on a volunteer program in Google called the Top Contributor Program that now was renamed Google Product Experts. And I had a lot of experience on on getting and growing the communities and retaining volunteers. So when I joined, I didn't feel confident enough because I didn't come with a lot of experience from open source. But with time, I just saw that the dynamics of the online communities are exactly the same. It's a distributed team. It's a group of people that normally don't have the common background, but they're trying to collaborate in producing a common goal, a common value, either a project, either support, either bringing the name of a product to their communities, etc. So what kept me very motivated was that Apache Beam, which was the first project on Apache that I joined, recognized the work that I was doing on bringing together the community, bringing together the partners to discuss what the plans were for the project, organizing events, understanding why users were having trouble with some of the features. And I was doing it for my own sake of gaining the experience, but with time I was also realizing that I was creating a framework for others to join. And with that, Apache Beam, I've seen how other members of the community have had the possibility to become part of the community by doing this type of events and contributions. So what helped me to stay engaged was that early recognition. And I was lucky enough to have folks from the community reach out and acknowledge what I was doing for the project. The second recommendation that I have is reward consistency. So the recognition of early participation is crucial so you can continue to motivate those folks who are curious but they have not built the confidence yet to contribute. If they have been consistent, if they change from making one-line contribution to then take ownership of a whole section of the documentation, that's when you need to reward these contributions and help them be taking one step further until they can get to the PMC of your project. How do you do this? You need to create the right environment within your community. You need to have, as Reina and Jamal mentioned again, you need to have expectations on, or at least discuss how can you validate this. Have a roadmap for them to follow. And this is something that with the research that I have done in academic papers from the industry, etc., several foundations, projects, companies are interested in knowing how to do this, how to define consistency, how to define contributions. So what happens when you are recognizing early contributions and rewarding consistency? You end up with a very large group of people in a large community, and hopefully this is going to bring a lot of value to the project, which also makes to a great challenge, which is now you're going to have a community, a more distributed community doing a diverse array of things for your project. And in such a scenario, you also need to have a strong structure that supports that. So the point that I want to make here is like, by empowering a network, by empowering either like special interest groups or a special, like areas of your project, like documentation or events, by creating subgroups that can help you support others better, the more you're going to be successful and continue to add more people in your community, but also keeping things flexible and agile. This doesn't mean that you're going to keep control of it at all times, but that means that you have a framework that's going to respond to the growth in a way that doesn't create more chaos. So one of the examples in this area of building an empowered network, again, is with Apache Beam. A year ago, I was the only person organizing the Beam Summit, and it was not even a summit, it was more like a mega meetup. And this year, we managed to partner with the Apache Software Foundation to do not only like one of the tracks at ApacheCon, but also created a subgroup in the community that is working as a committee, putting it together. So this is a great achievement because I realized that by just being me, I could scale the number of hours in my working week and being able to successfully support our community. So this group of people are not only now supporting the Beam Summit, they are also supporting meetups across the world. And it has just come from this empowerment and this recognition and giving them the authority to continue to make decisions around this specialization that they choose to have. So that is why it's important to build that network, but most importantly, empowering them. It's very different to just say, okay, we're going to create an events committee or a documentation committee that actually enable them to make decisions and helping others to get on board with them. Sometimes that means feeling like losing control, but that's not true because they will take the control. This is a recap. So the 3 suggestions involve building the foundation for a stronger bridge is recognize early, reward consistency, and build and empower a network. So if you have questions later, we can discuss each of the points. Now, I want to share with you the 2 challenges that I actually spot from trying to answer the question of how consistency looks like for different projects and what are the recognitions that should be rewarded and how will they be fairly recognized. So the first challenge that I encounter is that there are limitations to what we can see and we can measure. And I love this picture because yes, the iceberg is only the tip and the radars that we currently have only look at one portion of things and contributions. And all the technology that we have to scalably measure contributions look at code pushes or things that can be recorded in GitHub. For example, I was doing some benchmarking with the Kubernetes community, and the events, a special interest group, actually measures event because they're prompted to write a report on the event and push it into a repository in GitHub. So they are creating the signal in the same platform that measures code contribution. One of the ideas that we had in Apache Beam was to actually request folks working in events to open JIRAs that talk to the task and effort that they put into making each of the events possible. But then they're only creating a signal for a single task, and we don't know how to measure the effort that goes against creating a meetup or organizing a conference. So that's why I said that you can only measure the tip, but you don't see the surface of what goes into the contribution. And that is a challenge that is across the industry. Project House from the Linux Foundation is a project that works in building metrics for open source communities. And I was looking at their GitHub page, and they also have a placeholder for how to measure node contributions. So this is an open question for several of us, and I would love to invite you to join the conversation if you have great ideas, because this is about how do we create those rulers that will help us measure how well we're doing. And even though we can only see a small piece of the iceberg, the effort can scale if we do it as a community. The reason why I put here an array of antennas is because what I mentioned earlier is that if we have more eyes looking for people doing this type of work, the better and more successful we're going to be at identifying it. So the challenge that we have is like, how do we empower that? How do we talk about this, and how do we work with our community to also be paying attention about this? This is one of the challenges that I also work in the other program that I was managing, which is we created a network of mentors and just nominators that will pay attention to newcomers, be more frequent, and just help us identify. Because paying attention to those folks who are interested but not speaking up is a challenge, and we can only do it if they're actively, like people actively looking for that. And that was it, and I want to do a recap. So, in a short nutshell, the non-code contributions add value by increasing development velocity into project, and also boosting project value growth. So creating a larger ecosystem for everybody to benefit from. Non-code contributions are one of the ways users taste safety or try the project for safety. You need infrastructure to identify and recognize non-code contributions, and this equals building that safety that your users need. And lastly, rely on your own community to keep driving this forward. And the most important message here is that you need to believe in this and be an advocate for doing it, because it's how you will generate the environment to encase and foster these recognitions. So with that, I also wanted to invite you to join the Diversity at Apache.org mailing list. It was recently created, and just yesterday I realized that not everybody's going to know about this mailing list if we don't promote it. So join the mailing list, join the conversation, and if you're interested in discussing more about the recommendations, if you have ideas, you have good examples and stories, share them there. And if you have ideas in how to tackle these challenges that I presented here, and that are challenges that the whole industry is looking at, join the conversation and also start driving there some brainstorming or suggestions. And I think the last thing is, if you want to get in touch with me, this are like my email, my Twitter handle, and this is the link for the slides. And that's it. It's conversation time. I don't know if I still have time for questions, but I think I do. Okay. Does anybody have questions, comments? Yes.
So next, when you talked about non-code contributions, do they go into like graphics, UX? Do you see that as actually a code contribution, or why did you leave that out?
That is a great question. I'm going to repeat it for the live stream. So the question was, why I didn't cover things like graphics and UI, and if I consider that as a contribution. Actually, no. I actually think it's part of the user management, and it can be user management, community management, and I didn't use it just because I didn't think about it. But I think it's a great point. Graphics and UX, I will consider them personally more on the user management, especially if it's around documentation and making the flow of information easier for them, or if it's in the interface of the project or flow or whatever, but it can also be like community management and creating better flow of interactions within the community. This is why you need to join the conversation, because I probably left something else outside. Yeah.
Okay, for external facing organizations, perhaps sales and business development might be careers.
Yes, I love that. So actually, one of the challenges that I got posed with when I joined Dataflow, which is my employer, and it's the commercial version of Apache Beam, was you need to grow the Apache Beam community. So my role was actually, forget about Dataflow, you need to grow Apache Beam. And the first reaction as a person who spent a few years in startups was, okay, tell me what is the value story that we're sharing with the community. And it wasn't until we put like a pitch and a short slide of what Apache Beam was that not only me, but a few of the engineers working in Dataflow started to be able to describe it in an elevator pitch. So I do think that creating this type of materials is essential for growing a project. And I would classify it as part of the user support, and maybe changing the support piece will be clearer, but it's what helps the project interact with the user world.
In terms of like attracting new contributors, whether code or non-code, what have you seen that is maybe not intuitive that is a good place to go to find people who might be interested?
So the question was that what environment is not intuitive, and it would be good to look at when we're finding no code contributions or code contributions. So I don't know if this is not intuitive, but because I discovered it from my personal experience. Again, with Apache Beam, when they give me this task of grow Apache Beam, I was like, okay, I'm gonna bring Apache Beam in a roadshow in Mexico because I'm Mexican and it's easy. So I went in the roadshow there, and it was so impressed. Like I was impressed by the fact that there's so much talent, but they don't join the active development community of open source because of the language barrier. So I think localization specifically, it's oftentimes not considered, and I am like an owl because I think I get the luxury of saying that I am bilingual, and it struck me that oftentimes we forget that not the entire world speaks and interacts in English. Code is very powerful, so what really surprised me was that these engineers, they claim that they don't speak English, but they speak code and they understand code. but what is preventing them from contributing is not feeling comfortable interacting in English. So looking for how to engage those communities, to me, wasn't very intuitive because I didn't think about it. And just recently in Flame Forward, we heard this great story of what they did and engaging the Chinese community by just opening a mailing list that was in Chinese. And it has been impressive how they have seen the growth of the project in China. I'm actually trying to get Stefan to share more on that because it will be great to demonstrate that point.
I just want to give another example. Like, if you think of your own network,
It's another example.
sorry, just
So if you look into your own network, you might actually like have so many friends that have valuable skills, and actually going and talking to them like privately and telling them the value of contributing to open source, because the merit stays with you and you take it with anywhere you go, right? And that actually is very, very effective. Like, for example, I have a UX designer, like UX UI designer friend who has daily job, and he's still not convinced. Like, I'm trying to get him to contribute to Apache, and I'm telling, oh, there's this project, you can help by doing this and this and this, and they will love you, and it will help you to build your resume, and then you can find a job in the United States, and it will be, and doing that soliciting, like going and asking for contribution is very effective. Like, and when we talk about like, oh, attracting contribution to open source, for example, oh, we accept documentation contribution, it doesn't help much. Actually, it's telling them here are the specific Jira issues that we need your help with, and that like is helpful too.
Thank you. Thank you.